The crystal glass caught the chandelier's light like a dagger, refracting shards of gold across the mahogany table. My father's hand trembled slightly as he raised it, the amber whiskey swirling in a slow vortex. The room smelled of roasted lamb and aged oak, the kind of opulent scent that masked the rot beneath. His eyes, bloodshot from too many late nights at the office, locked onto my brother Ethan with a pride that twisted like a knife in my gut. "Some kids make you proud," he said. His voice gravelly, laced with that false warmth he reserved for public displays. "Others just take up space." The words hung in the air, heavy as smoke, and the laughter from the guests, our extended family, business associates, the usual sycophants, erupted like gunfire. But his gaze flicked to me, just for a second, cold and deliberate. I felt it sear through me, a public execution disguised as a toast. My fork clattered against the plate, the sound lost in the applause, but inside something shattered irreparably. I sat there, frozen, my face burning under the scrutiny of Aunt Lydia's pitying glance and Cousin Mark's awkward chuckle. Humiliation surged like bile, hot and acrid, choking the words I wanted to hurl back. How dare he? After everything, the late nights I'd spent poring over ledgers for his crumbling empire, the deals I'd closed while he golfed with investors, the sacrifices I'd made to prop up the family name. Ethan, the golden boy, lounged across from me, smirking into his wine glass. His tailored suit a testament to the promotions he'd stolen from under my nose. But it was Dad's betrayal that cut deepest, that casual dismissal in front of everyone we'd ever known. I forced a smile, thin as paper, and raised my own glass. "To pride," I muttered, but no one heard. Inside, rage coiled like a spring, whispering promises of reckoning. That night, as the guests trickled out into the crisp autumn air, I lingered in the study, the walls lined with leather-bound books no one ever read. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows that danced like accusations. Dad slumped into his armchair, loosening his tie, oblivious or indifferent to the storm he'd unleashed. "Good turnout," he grunted, pouring another scotch. I hovered in the doorway, my heart pounding an erratic rhythm against my ribs. "What did you mean by that toast?" The words escaped before I could cage them, sharp and trembling. He looked up, eyebrows arched in feigned surprise. "Come on, Alex. It was just a joke. Lighten up." But his tone dripped with condescension, the same one he'd used when I was a kid, failing to meet his impossible standards. Ethan wandered in then, clapping Dad on the shoulder. "Great speech, Pops. Really hit home." They shared a laugh, excluding me like always. I retreated to my old room upstairs, the one with the faded posters and dusty trophies, lying awake as resentment festered into something darker. By morning, the anger had crystallized into obsession. I drove back to my cramped apartment in the city, the skyline blurring through rain-streaked windows. Every red light felt like a taunt, every honk a echo of that laughter. Why me? I'd given up my dreams, the art degree I'd abandoned for business school, the relationships withered under the weight of family duty. Ethan got the corner office, the bonuses, the pats on the back. And Dad? He'd orchestrated it all, favoring the son who mirrored his own ruthless ambition. But as I sifted through old emails on my laptop, a nagging doubt crept in. There had to be more. Whispers from board meetings, sidelong glances when finances were discussed. I started digging, subtly at first, pulling bank statements from the family trust, cross-referencing expenses that didn't add up. Guilt nipped at the edges. This was paranoia, wasn't it? But then I found it. A hidden account, transfers siphoned off to offshore holdings. Not just favoritism, embezzlement. Dad had been bleeding the company dry, funneling money to Ethan's pet projects while saddling me with the failures. The discovery hit like a gut punch, heartbreak mingling with fury. I paced the apartment, the worn carpet muffling my steps, the hum of the fridge a constant drone in my ears. How long had this gone on? Years, probably, since Mom's death when the cracks first showed. She'd been the glue, the one who saw my worth. Without her, Dad's resentment had bloomed unchecked. I imagined confronting him, watching his face crumple as I laid out the evidence. But no, that was too clean, too merciful. Revenge whispered sweeter temptations. Expose him, ruin Ethan in the fallout, reclaim what was mine. Doubt flickered. Was I capable of this? Moral conflict gnawed at me. What if I destroyed the family entirely? Yet the humiliation replayed on loop, fueling the fire. I needed a plan, something calculated, irreversible. Over the next weeks, I played the dutiful son, attending family dinners with a mask of civility. The estate loomed like a mausoleum, its manicured lawns hiding buried secrets. "Pass the salt, Alex," Ethan would say, his voice laced with mockery. I'd comply, smiling, while inside fantasies unspooled, slipping something into his drink, watching him choke on his arrogance. But I held back, building my case. Late nights in coffee shops, the bitter brew scalding my tongue, I hacked into old company servers. Nothing illegal, just forgotten access codes. More discrepancies. Forged signatures on loans, my name dragged through audits while theirs stayed clean. Anger evolved into cold resolve, each revelation a brick in the wall of my vengeance. I even tailed Dad once, his Mercedes weaving through downtown traffic to a seedy motel. A mistress. Blackmail material, perhaps. Fear prickled. What if he caught on? But the thrill outweighed it, a dark adrenaline. Tension simmered at the edges. During a board meeting, Dad's hand shook as he signed papers, his eyes darting to me more than usual. "Everything all right, son?" he asked afterward, his voice softer, almost probing. "Fine," I lied, my pulse racing. Did he suspect? Ethan cornered me in the hall later. "You've been quiet lately. Plotting your next failure." His laugh was forced, eyes narrowing. I shrugged it off, but inside, obsession gripped tighter. I dreamed of their downfall. Dad disgraced, Ethan penniless. Guilt warring with satisfaction. Was this justice or madness? The line blurred, but I pressed on, gathering threads for the noose. One evening, as storm clouds gathered over the city, I uncovered the final piece. Emails from years ago, Dad admitting to sabotaging my promotion to teach me resilience. Heartbreak crashed anew, resentment boiling over. I sat in the dim light of my screen, fists clenched until knuckles whitened. No more denial. The plan solidified. Anonymous tips to regulators, leaked documents to rivals. But first, a confrontation veiled in subtlety to savor their unease. Suspense built like thunder, each day a step closer to the storm. The boardroom smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees overhead. I arrived early, my briefcase heavy with printed evidence, heart hammering against my ribs. Dad presided at the head of the table, Ethan to his right, both in crisp suits that screamed entitlement. As executives filed in, I took my seat opposite, forcing steady breaths. "Big day," Dad said, clapping his hands. "Quarterly reviews. Let's make it shine." His smile didn't reach his eyes. A flicker of unease I'd planted with anonymous emails hinting at irregularities. Ethan shot me a glance, sharp as a blade. "Yeah, Alex. Try not to screw it up this time." The words stung, but I savored the irony. They had no idea the screw was turning on them. As presentations droned on, my mind raced through the plan. I'd spent nights in my apartment, the city lights flickering through rain-lashed windows, mapping every move. Doubt had plagued me. What if exposure backfired, tarnishing me too? Moral conflict twisted like vines. Was revenge worth the collateral? Family friends ruined, the company in ashes. But humiliation's scar burned fresh, resentment a constant companion. I'd even confessed fragments to a therapist, her neutral nods doing little to quell the obsession. "Revenge consumes," she'd said. I nodded, but inside, cold resolve hardened. Today it began. Mid-meeting, I interjected during the financials. "There's a discrepancy here," I said calmly, sliding a folder across the table. Heads turned, murmurs rippling. Dad's face paled slightly. "What are you talking about?" His voice held an edge, suppressed rage bubbling. Ethan leaned forward. This isn't the time, bro, stick to your lane. But I pressed on, voice steady. Offshore transfers. Millions unaccounted for. Signed by you, Dad. Gasps echoed, the room thickening with tension. He laughed it off. Misunderstanding. We'll sort it privately. But his eyes betrayed fear, darting to Ethan, who gripped his pen like a weapon. Afterward in the hallway, Dad pulled me aside. His grip iron on my arm. What the hell was that? Spittle flecked his lips, the scent of his cologne cloying. Truth, I replied, meeting his gaze. Heartbreak flashed. This was the man who'd taught me to ride a bike, now a stranger. You've always hated me, I whispered. Why? He faltered. I don't. It's complicated. But I walked away, the seed planted. That night, anonymous packages arrived at regulators' doors. Documents, timestamps, irrefutable. Suspense coiled tighter. Any moment the hammer could fall. Weeks blurred into a haze of feigned normalcy. Family dinners became battlegrounds. Dialogue laced with barbs. Pass the wine, Alex. Dad would say, his tone probing. And smile. Sure. Everything all right at work? Ethan's replies grew curt, paranoia etching lines on his face. I tailed them discreetly, noting hushed calls and parked cars, the air thick with their panic. Guilt surged when I saw Dad alone in his study, head in hands. Was he remorseful? But resentment drowned it. He'd chosen this path. The climax brewed during a storm-ravaged weekend at the estate. Thunder rattled windows as we gathered for family time. Rain lashed the panes, mirroring my inner turmoil. Over dinner, tension crackled. Heard the feds are sniffing around, Ethan muttered, eyes on me. Dad slammed his fork. Enough games. If someone's leaking. His accusation hung unspoken. I feigned innocence. Who would do that? Inside, obsession peaked. Fear of exposure mingling with exhilaration. Later, in the dim library, Ethan confronted me. It's you, isn't it? Jealous little shit. His breath reeked of whiskey, fists clenched. You think you're clever. I stepped back, heart racing. You stole everything, promotions, money, his love. Words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. He lunged, but Dad burst in. Stop. Chaos erupted, accusations flying. I did it for the family, Dad confessed, voice breaking. Ethan was strong, you reminded me of your mother. Weak. The revelation shattered me. Betrayal's root exposed. Heartbreak overwhelmed, but resolve held. As sirens wailed in the distance, my final tip triggered. Ethan swung at me, rage unleashed. We grappled, books tumbling, the storm outside echoing our fury. Dad tried to intervene, slipping on spilled papers, evidence I'd left out. He fell hard, head cracking against the hearth. Blood pooled, dark and viscous, the metallic tang filling the air. Horror froze us. Ethan knelt, sobbing. Dad! But he was gone, eyes vacant. In the aftermath, as police swarmed, the twist unraveled. Investigations revealed Dad's deeper sins. Not just embezzlement, but a hit-and-run years ago, covering up Mom's death to protect his image. He'd blamed her weakness. But it was his drunk driving. Ethan knew, complicit for inheritance. My revenge, meant to expose, had killed him accidentally. Poetic justice. Or curse. Guilt crashed, obsession's price paid. I walked free, evidence pointing to their fight, but the void lingered. Revenge hollow, family ashes. Yet in the quiet, a cold satisfaction bloomed. They'd taken my space. I'd claimed theirs.